Hello, good evening, everybody. Give me a second. Shut the door. So tonight we have Samuel doing his report on Oceanic, basically the ocean, and the creatures that live within, whether it be uh, mystical, mythical, and such. So I am going to bring Sam up. Samuel, let's unmute you. Good evening, Sam.
So
How are
I
you?
just want to say thank you for doing okay. I want to say thanks people that are viewing, and I hope everyone likes it tonight. This one's a little different. Okay. So the history of man is close knit with the oceans. Man is dependent on the ocean for travel, food, commerce, and so much more. The ocean has been around longer than man and probably always will be. The ocean is the whole body of salt water that covers 70.8% to 75% of the Earth, depending on who you ask. It can also be said to it can also be said to be a large expanse that is unlimited in nature. Most every part of the globe can be said to be affected by it. Seawater covers around 75% of the Earth's surface. The closest numbers to the closest numbers to be said to cover the Earth is 139 million square miles. The ocean is divided into several different parts, like I said, depending on who you ask. History notes that there are at least four oceans: Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, and Arctic. Some organizations say that there is seven oceans: the Arctic, North Atlantic, South Atlantic, North Pacific, South Pacific, Indian, and Antarctic. There are those that are most updated that terms that can be that can come upon people's heads. There are there are areas that are said to be called seas, areas of oceans that are surrounded by land. A sea is normally, with a definition, to be landlocked by sometimes that there are exceptions, such as the Gulf of Mexico and even the Hudson Bay. The ocean is said to be 12,080 feet, 3.7 million kilometers. The depth of the ocean is immense. For many, it seems like it is never ending. The depth of the ocean, it can be the depth of the ocean. It can make just about any boat, ship, or any submarine fall into an abyss that is never ending. The bottom of it. Many of the sea vessels can dwarf human being easily, and the ocean and the sea swallow them up in a hole without any problem. The Mariana Trench is said to be the deepest part of the ocean. It is estimated to be 36,200 feet deep. It is said to be have freezing conditions with very little or no known light. To some people, in theory, it is never-ending darkness that no human may ever fully understand and know within a lifetime. There is a part of the Mariana Trench that is called that there's a part of the Mariana Trench that has been called the Challenger Deep. It supposedly is 36,070 feet deep. But I will say this much: it is dangerous, but it's beautiful. And at the end of the day, it's a challenge for us just to even fathom it, not just reach there. Humanity is dependent on the ocean and seas through thick and thin. People depend on the ocean for food. People that live close to the ocean do not normally have access to food sources that include a certain amount of protein within those sources. The seas get give that protein in the way of fish, seal, shellfish, whale, and a whole lot of other sources. Protein from seafood is a significant source of high quality nutrients. The problem that people have in the world is that they do not eat enough protein. Amount of protein amount of protein should be of 2 servings and 4 ounces per week, according to many health organizations. With saying this, the world needs more proteins to sustain its population. The oceans and the seas are the most realistic way of doing it. Trade and commerce is in a heavy need of the ocean. Moving large objects such as cars and various other heavy machinery can really be done. It can really only be done by boats because of the size and the weight that they carry. As big as an air vessel can be, it cannot really sustain all of this. It cannot really sustain all of this, and this is one of the many reasons the oceans are hugely needed. In certain ways, most of our goods come by boat, depending on where you're at in your geography. So, if anything, many of our sources, say like from China or Japan, that come over here to drop off their goods, they can only do it by ocean. Well, they can only do it by boat. Yes, sometimes there is aircraft, but for the most part, most everything is shipped by a marine vessel of some kind. Various parts of the world have had sightings that make no sense to the human mind, and sometimes legends are born because of that. One of those legends is the Nine Jinn. It's said to have been seen in the mid 2000s. It is said to have an appearance of a humanoid, but having whale similarities. It is said to have been around sub-Antarctic oceans. The Japanese have claimed to have discovered it. They thought it was a submarine, but when they check it out, it disappeared within the waves. Trying to find a logical explanation, they compared it to it was an iceberg. There have been claims of it being spotted here and there, but more research and along with its sightings need to be done. So, like I said, Japan is a very seafaring nation, and with that, of course, they're going to find something that's strange and odd and everything. Heck, they live so close to they do live in the ocean practically, and it does work for them. Margwa is supposedly that of a type of sea serpent that inherits part of the European coast. It's supposedly spotted in 1975, and it was said to have had a long neck, the black tail, and brown skin, sort of like that of a sea lion. Some people said it was at least 60 feet tall and was shaped like a crocodile with webbed feet and with an extremely long tail. On and off and on over the years, it has been said to have been bringing bad fishing conditions. To some extent, all these nations that are of Europe, they're going to put this, that are of Europe and everything, and they depend heavily. So they're trying to find some reasoning as to why these events are happening, such as bad seasons for fishing. Lucia is a creature that lives, in theory, of something like a chimera. In other words, a chimera is something that is some of a living entity of some kind that has various parts. In other words, if you ever take a look at the mythology, the chimera had a snake head, a lion head, and all this other stuff, a huge tail like a scorpion, things like that. Lucia is a legend of the Caribbean. The thing in a general sense, Lucia is a combination of a great white and octopus, lightning fast, and that of a huge predatory nature. With the size of a brain power of this amazing creature, is obviously very smart and a master of adaptation. In saying this, it is a creature is that of an aquatic nightmare. Seeing the pictures of it, like I said, a combination of great white and octopus tentacles, that would bring fear to most any person who lives by the ocean, such as fishing or commerce. Uh, Something of that nature also. It's, like I said, a living nightmare. Most continents have their own version of them. Water spirits in Africa are called Zin, Zin, an entity of Africa called the Mami Wata, mother of Wat, which means mother of water, which has the appearance of a mermaid. Along with that, there are entities descended from the African people that were intended to be brought to the United States, Brazil, and Haiti. There has been known of a huge pantheon of various entities and gods that are of water. Now, this one I have trouble saying. Uwa, the marine Mim Iri are certain entities that can be said to have a mermaid-like appearance also. A Simbi or Simbi, is also the name of a mermaid-like creature or even a reptilian water spirit. Many, many of these people can be said to have come from the Congo tribe and a Vodou religion. Um, like I said, there's been many. How can I put this? There have been tons and tons of legends that have dealt with mermaids and this and that. Some have even speculate that of a fish, and even that at the bottom of a fish, a sea serpent, and I've even heard of those of porpoise or dolphins. And in different parts of there there are at least two different types of water spirits, with one side having water elemental spirits called Undine, according to Pericles, which his teachings come from natural philosophy. These are called Undine. Other types from at least Europe are those of folklore, tales, and myths. In a general sense, they define themselves as male and or female. In Europe, these legends come from Germanic, Greek, Celtic, and even Slavic areas. But like I said, there are a lot of spirits, a lot of things that we don't know, whether it's rivers, seas, oceans. It comes from all different places. And at the end of the day, we don't necessarily know what goes on, but we do know about the legends of them. And sometimes we have to keep that in mind. Some of the water spirits are dangerous. Some of the water spirits that are dangerous are called Nixie and Nick. I hope I pronounce it right. Some people have described them as being extremely dangerous. They have been said to be in water areas at the bottom of lakes and rivers. Nixie can be said to come out of the water to have fun sometimes, to seduce men to come into the water in order to take them and drown them. A calling card of theirs is to normally be wet with wet skirt, to normally come with wet skirts. Another kind of water, another kind is the water nymphs, which can be said to live in lakes, ponds, rivers, and other places. If those water sources dry up, they will die. But normally they have no soul, but have been known to be quite friendly. Uh, Meloise is a European spirit in which she can transform into a mermaid with a fish or snail, or even a snake lower body. This is when she is in the water or bathes in the water. Outside the water, it's speculated that she has regular human legs. But like I said, she might have those type of serpent fish, or even other types of lower body parts. There are creatures far and wide that are about water. Some are predators, and others are helpful to that of the betterment of mankind. Other other are those that are of command and dominance. Individuals that are in a supreme nature, and those that command the ultimate reality, are those that have attributes that are beyond comprehension that mortals cannot explain. There is a more simplified word for this: a god. These gods are of water. Shintoism, which is in Japan, that is what they call what was it? Called the religion of the emperor of Japan. Basically, those that are the emperor of Japan are basically gods or near gods. Sort of similar, I guess you can say, to the pharaohs of Egypt. Shintoism, Shujin, is the god of water in Japanese mythology. The Japanese believe Shujin is the guardian of fishermen, is able to bring drinkable water, sanitation, and motherhood, and even an easy childbirth. There are shrines in different parts of Japan. Other water gods in Japan are worshipped, but mostly Shujin. In Hindu Puranas, Varuna is the god of the oceans. His primary vehicle is a crocodile, and his favorite is a pasha, and his favorite is the pasha, which is a noose with a rope loop. He is said to have been the god of the western direction. He has also been known to have been mentioned in Japan and even Jainism. And if you ever get a chance to look up Jainism, you're going to love it. In Greek mythology, Poseidon was the god of the seas and earthquakes. His power was only second to that of Zeus. He has been known to have interfered with trade of man and many other things. He had a huge part in the novels of the Iliad and the Odyssey that was written by Homer. He had the taste for women, family members, and even goddesses of his choosing. In the ancient times, he was revered and also hated. He did have his effect but also he had his effect on ancient Greek mythology. In Hawaiian, Kanaloa is the god of the seas. He is called upon in canoe building. Canola, or I'm sorry if I can't pronounce it right, is depicted that of a squid, also that of is depicted that by that of the squid and also the octopus. He is also depicted as making fish ponds and also putting an end to famine. In a certain sense, you could say Kinola was kind of a benevolent god trying to help mankind through thick and thin. On the issue of Poseidon, not really necessarily sure what to think of Poseidon, but he had his own interest in the way whether he's helping mankind or hurting mankind. Njord or Nord is Norse. Mythology was that of the major god of the seas, of the oceans and the seas. It was said that he was the only god of the winds and also helped crops and provide wealth. Saying this, he was considered to be one of the most important gods of them all. The Viking Age that had made a new farmland in North America and also Europe and parts of the British Isles. In saying this, there are huge risks that are taken upon every single day using the ocean. And like I said earlier, keep this in mind. The ocean is crucial in good and both bad ways. If you ever been through a hurricane, many of you have, many of you haven't, but it's one of the most scariest storms you can come across. People, at least in Florida, whenever it came to weather time sort of thing involved in the ocean, uh, even people discredit tropical storms. But keep in mind, tropical storms can dwarf, I guess you can say, Florida and many other states. They're very dangerous and everything. They should never be taken lightly, but many people do. And a lot of those same people that do take that don't take that seriously. Um, well, they suffer the consequences from destroyed property and destroyed life. But like I said, though that property and all that other stuff is, I gotta put this, is destroyed because people don't take that stuff seriously. And the ocean, whether we want to admit it or not, is one of the most powerful natural entities we can ever think of. Spawning life, spawning this, spawning that. And also, like I was saying, um, there's gods, entities, water elementals, all kinds of things. But it has been crucial to mankind. On the issues of the dangers of the oceans are high winds. The oceans and the seas are very, very deep, and very little is known about the depths of the ocean, and very little has ever been discovered. Heck, we do know more about space, well, what surrounds the planet, than we do with the ocean depths. And the ocean's been around pretty darn long, and we've discovered more about space than we have a potential living environment. The ocean has the potential of feeding most, if not all, of mankind. We can say a lot of stuff in the way of food, but humanity needs certain amounts of protein, like I was saying. Much of that protein can come in the form of fish, shellfish, and even sometimes marine mammals, and maybe even sometimes animals called krill, which are very small, like you could say shrimp-like creatures, and many of the ocean's creatures feed upon them. But we could too, prolonging our existence on this earth, on this planet. But like I said, we can have a lot of this stuff in the way of food, but humanity needs certain amounts of protein. Like I said, much of that protein, like I said, can be that of fish, shellfish, and even sometimes marine mammals and various other marine animals and mammals. Another thing the ocean can provide is some amount of carbohydrates. At least in North America, we don't talk about that enough. The biggest one I can think of is seaweed. Seaweed is something that is digestible, and certain palates, taste buds, whatever you want to call them, love seaweed, especially if you cook it right or this or that, giving you that which can help you out quite a bit more. In all of this, the chance of the ocean creatures on the bottom may never be known. Like I said, it's a big ocean and very deep ocean, and a lot of us don't know anything about it. Legend of the bottom seas, rivers, and oceans can be considered a dime a dozen. And this is very true because if you take a look at it, we don't necessarily know completely what's down in there. Um, we've only discovered just a small fraction of it, and it's a huge amount. But as deep as it goes, man has a lot of problems trying to consider the pressure. Because whenever we say, like if you're in a submarine, you can only go down a certain amount of depth before the pressure sort of like, I'm going to put this, compacts you. In other words, it'll take here's your insides, and it'll go like this, surround it, and crush you in. And that's what the pressure can do. Along with this, there are legends of folklore and folklore of greater beings, such as gods. In most every society which is on almost every single society on Earth. I guess you can say with that, uh, every single place, whether it responds to some amount of ocean, whether we want to admit it or not. Like in North America, the Eskimo, which are indigenous people, and they have like I said, they've depended on things like whale, dolphins, seals, birds to some degree. But like I said, those animals are very necessary for the Eskimo, which is like I said, an indigenous people that they need to eat. Uh, then you've got the South Americans, which they eat other things, but like I said, they need it for, well, they hunt to live, and the ocean has plenty of that for them, and all that other stuff. Uh, some of the, well, like I said, um, on the gods, you could say that the gods in history were more out for themselves. The gods were those that loved their followers. They did love their followers and everything because that's what gave them their power. The more people that believed in you, the more, depending on what faith or mythology, whatever you want to call it, had. So the more followers they had, the stronger they would become. And so after a while, some of them got a little conceited and did whatever they wanted to and did whatever they chose to without really any consequences except on mankind. Some of those guys have been known to be sympathizers of men and also doing not being of anyone except themselves. Like I said, the gods in ancient mythologies, like I said, could be very good people and very, very over the top cruel to people, and that's just how it went. Um, but that's the thing that they did. They wanted to keep many people in line, keep their people going, and so they demanded tribute. Some of them wanted prayer, some of them wanted this, wanted that. Many of those gods did what they could, but in the way of the sea gods, um, in theory, having the favor of the sea gods meant to have more food so you can feed your family. Um, Having the favor of the gods can mean more commerce so you can sell your goods that you had to other places. And oftentimes, those individuals that were in charge, well, guess what? They were already rich, even more rich.
Sam, to let you get a drink of water there real quick. Like I posted in the chat there, um, we've only just actually like mapped out like 20% of the ocean itself. But more than 80% of the ocean has never been mapped, explored by humans. I mean, uh, the ocean is so vast that it is, uh, like you said, we know more about space than we do, and we've explored more space than we have of the ocean itself. Um, Also,
Yes.
I just had something here. The bottom of the ocean is compared to the Earth, the pressure that we put down on. So, like, I weigh 289 pounds. If you think about if I drop to the bottom of the ocean, multiply that by 9,000 pounds more. I'm going to take my 200 and change, multiply that by 9,000. And that's how much pressure would be exerted on your body. That's why submersibles and stuff like that. I mean, you look at Robert Ballard. going to the Titanic. I mean, they're in submersibles and have gone to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean and looked at the Titanic. But if they weren't inside those submersibles, then their bodies would have been crushed. I mean, so when they're making these submersibles and stuff, they're taking into account how much pressure is going to be exerted on them. If you've ever dove into a swimming pool and you to 9 foot, it's not a whole lot of pressure but your ears will pop because the pressure from the outside compared to the water pressure is going to make everything go wonky. Um,
Definitely.
if you're looking at the bottom of the screen, um, Sam's uh, podcast and stuff, this video that we're doing now will be on iHeartRadio tomorrow, um, and it'll Sam made sure he set up his YouTube, so we'll be sending the link over to Sam. So eventually we'll start putting Sam's link in there. So not only will it be on the company site here, but it'll also be on Sam's site.
Mm-hmm.
I also had another. So we're also on Anchor, uh, Spotify, Google Music, Apple Music. Well, we haven't got on to Apple Music yet, but there. So we're going a little bit larger than some people think we are, uh, and it's all between Bald Bonkers and SFPI. We're we're trying to blow ourselves up within this year. Not actually blow ourselves up, but you know what I mean. So, Sam, I'm gonna bring you back full screen
Oh,
and let you continue.
thank you. Well, it's the last bit of it. Whatever the case of the seas, rivers, and oceans, and whatever the case is, they've made their mark on not just the planet but humanity in a whole. Humanity is dependent upon water. It is the grand source of life in every form, shape, form, and fashion it takes. Even with all this that is well known, even with all this that is known, we still have to learn. We still have so much to learn, as Chad said, and we still have yet to make a full mark. The learning may never stop that is necessary to be done. But the bodies of water on the planet has the potential to prolong humanity more than it would ever do on its own on the surface. But there's also the adventure, the danger of the people that seek that danger out. So, and that's my report. Now you have to remember something, folks. As Chad said, the ocean is massive, and I'm kind of in disbelief that. I mean, I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but I think that the ocean is much deeper than what is recorded. With all that is recorded, we have to remember something. It can feed us, and it can, even though we have a certain amount of time on this planet, and we need to keep that in mind. But the thing is, if we were to use the ocean, use it properly in the way of conservation, environmental wise, and other things like that, we can prolong humanity way further in the use of the ocean. Then we also, like I was saying, food wise, that can save our lives even more so than anything else. Then you got the entities. The gods, of course, which to me, I wish I could explain it, but I think that in many different ways they're wonderful and extremely selfish. And then we have spiritual entities that not necessarily gods, but they live for a long time. This. They vary. They definitely vary. Some of them are hugely over the top out there. They're constantly out there, like from fairies to water nymphs to mermaids, mermen, and probably a ton of other things that we don't know. And then the ocean creatures themselves. Those creatures out there, those creatures out there, many of them extinct one after the next after next, and then some of them are doing great. Um, and then we have commerce, we have food, and other things like that. And humanity's need to learn how to manage the ocean. We need to learn how to work with the ocean and make things better. And we can do that, but like I said, we have to take the initiative and do what we can to make things better. So, uh, like I said, is there any questions that I might be missing? Uh,
Not necessarily a
Anne Marie,
question, but
oh, by the way.
I'm going to interject about the whole destructive power of the ocean. Um, we live in Maryland. You live in Florida. Your guys down there can get a whole lot worse than we do. We've had a couple of nasty tropical depressions come through, or hurricanes. I mean, uh, we had Hurricane Agnes back in 1972. I wasn't born yet, but I know during the summer of '72 there was a really bad destructive. God bless whoever sneezed. Nobody sneezed. Um, Mom was around during '72. She can probably tell you. I mean, my mom told us that she lost a lot of stuff destructive wise. Yearbooks. I mean, sentimental stuff that everybody knows that they want to keep and hold on to and stuff like that. And then something that destructive comes around. I know, I forget which one, I think it was Emily or something that came through. And we were without power for 5 days. I mean, it was so water can be very destructive, whether it be tsunamis in the Pacific Ocean or tropical depression slash hurricanes. Uh, so we know about destructive. Um, and Baltimore being, yes, I remember that lived on 10th Street, and we had a free, a tree. It looks like it says it's free, but it says a tree go through the back of the house. So destruction. Um, with us living in Maryland, we have the Port of Baltimore. So that is a lot of where a lot of our commerce comes through. So uh, whether it be imported from England and whatever, I mean that's the Port of Baltimore. I mean cruise ships go out through from
Mhm.
there. Uh, so the Port of Baltimore is if that gets knocked out for a couple of days, it can mess a lot of things up. Um, as you see, we had with the whole pandemic, we had a supply chain issue. A lot of boats and stuff were stuck out in the ocean because they weren't able to get into the ports. They were just basically told not to come into the port because if you come into the port, you may not get back out because of the fact that fuel prices are so high. So the supply chain ended up being a really nasty thing that happened with the whole pandemic. does anybody really have any questions or want
I
to
will.
interject something? Like mom, like Anna
Well,
Marie's
Florida.
mom said, sorry, Jay.
Well, in Florida, with hurricanes and everything, me personally, take them all in the Red Cross for 2.5 years, both in reception and out in the field. I saw a lot, and I saw plenty. In two, if in 1 year, and the water in different parts of the state were flooded, sand everywhere, water, wind, destroyed houses. Keep in mind those houses were brick and brick strong, and the hurricanes of those of 2004 made those bricks look like nothing, and it was like no big deal as opposed to a hurricane. The higher the level of the hurricane, the more terrified that they are. And in the 90s, there was in South Florida, there was a Hurricane Andrew. Andrew destroyed an Air Force. It destroyed a lot of property, all kinds of things. It was nasty as anything.
If
And
anybody's
you cut.
gone, if anybody's gone to Myrtle Beach, Andrew, that particular, I remember that one because my family went down to see my uncle in Myrtle Beach, and that particular one we kept on watching because it was getting closer and closer, and we were still on vacation, so we had to basically hightail it back to Maryland before it actually came through, and it destroyed a
Mhm.
lot of stuff, not only in Florida, but the whole pretty much the whole East Coast. I mean, hit
Yeah,
Florida, it hit Myrtle Beach, and then you have to look at what it did for uh, New Orleans down there with Katrina. I mean,
Katrina.
that the destruction of
Yeah,
that was so bad. I mean, other than the fact that their infrastructure down there wasn't set. I mean, it was set up because it wasn't set up properly, but it was set up for keeping water out of New Orleans. But the unfortunate problem is when levees break and stuff like that, you're not holding a lot of pounds of water coming in at you all at one time. So I was getting
well,
ready to
definitely
look up.
with Florida. Oh, sorry about that.
I was saying I was getting ready to look at the one that came through here in the late '90s, early 2000s.
Oh, God. Well, like I said, the ones in 2004, they have four names: Ivan, Charlie, Ivan, Gene, and Francis. Ivan went to the west Coast, to the Panhandle, which is up, messed up a lot of people. Uh, Charlie, Francis, and Gene messed up a lot in South Florida and also Central Florida. And I live in Central Florida. Um, and mess things up. And then you had hurricane, like Chad was saying, Hurricane Katrina, which annihilated so much. They're still in disarray still this day from that. That one Hurricane Andrew, I will tell you guys this much, in the middle teens, if you want to call it that, of the 2000s, and I can never remember the name of it. Um, it was massive, just over the top massive. It dwarfed the whole state of Florida, just dwarfed it. And I had a neighbor, wonderful person. I'll call her Miss P. I gotta respect her privacy. Um, that storm was so massive that they literally said, and I'll try not to which, it said that it made Hurricane Andrew look like a complete whip, as in no challenge. People that lived in Florida during Hurricane Andrew, when they heard that, well, like I said, Miss P got her family over possessions and literally overnight head over to Tennessee because of how terrified they were of that storm. Now, keep in mind, it's parallel with the coast of Florida, but there's a major highway called A1A in Florida. I don't know how far it goes, but it demolished it. It was inland and just annihilated all parts of that road. And we got very lucky. I think the name of it was Irma. And at the end of the day, I knew a lot of people describing hurricane with a lot of four-letter words. And I knew 4 people that lost their homes, and a few of them that were there, they had no insurance whatsoever, and so they had to deal with they couldn't deal with the insurance companies, the humanitarian companies, and even though it's a pretty big night. And so, whenever it comes to Mother Nature and her treasures, such as the oceans and anything with the oceans, you always take it seriously. And
Right.
like I said, oceans are benevolent and they're horrifying at the same time.
So I'm going to share something that I put in most destructive hurricanes. This is the 10 most destructive hurricanes um, in the United States. You had the Great Miami Hurricane of 1926. Damage back then in 1926 was $105 million, which is the equivalent today of essentially 157 billion with a B. There was 372 deaths. That's number one. Second most dangerous hurricane is obviously Hurricane Katrina in 2005, which was only a Category 3 hurricane when it hit. In 2005, $81 billion. Total loss of death, 1,836. The 1900 Galveston hurricane is the third most damaging. It was a Category 4. Damage back in 1900 would have been $20 million. And mind you, Texas, and basically Galveston, Texas area, is on the Gulf Coast of Mexico. So that's a port in itself. Damage in monetary is 20 million. Estimated today would have been $78 million. Now, Katrina had less deaths compared to Galveston with their 8,000, but you look at how much it's built up since 1900. The Gulf Coast area has built up since 1900. And you also had the Galveston in 1915. That was 56 million. That was a Category 4. 56 million in 1915, which is equivalent to $61.7 billion now. They had 275 deaths. You had Hurricane Andrew, which hit the coast, the panhandle, the coast of Miami and basically Dade County in Florida. It hit them with a Category 5 hurricane. So maybe Andrew wasn't the one that was going up the coast. 1992, that was $26.5 billion. Equivalent today, $57.7 billion. Total loss of death, 65. Number 6, the Great New England Hurricane of 1938. It struck them at a Category 2. Damage in 1938 would be about 308 million. Total today would be 39.2 billion with a B, and total loss of death anywhere between 600 to 8. Then you had 1944, the Cuba. What is going on with your bird? Cuba, Florida hurricane. That was Category 3. 100 million plus, equivalent today 38.7 billion. Total loss of death 318. Hurricane Sandy, which is didn't classify it as a hurricane, but they classified it as a tropical cyclone. In 2012, it would be equivalent to $50 billion. Estimated today, they can't even fathom what it's cost. 72 deaths. And that one was the one that tracked right up through the Chesapeake Bay.
Oh yeah.
Lake Okeechobee hurricane
I'll
in
tell you this
19
much. Mhm.
Lake Okeechobee 1928, $100 million, Category 4 hurricane. Estimated then $100 million, 33.6. That one had 4,078 deaths. And then the number 10 was Hurricane Donna in 1960. I mean, these are just, go back to stop sharing. I mean, those are the ones that the National Oceanic and whatever NOAA classified as the most damaging. So the most destructive, and some of them weren't even hurricanes. Back to you, sir.
Mhm.
Anybody have any questions,
Well,
concerns?
I'll say this one thing about Hurricane Sandy. I think it was at that time. Many people that went through that unfortunate set of circumstances, keep this in mind, they were coming to Florida in droves. And the reason why they were coming to Florida is because they were looking for consulting.
We pardon this interruption. For those that are going to be on the podcast side, uh, that was Sam's phone going off. Apologize. Bring me up full screen until Sam's coming back. Um, Again, the link at the bottom, which is also a link in the chat. You can check us out on iHeartRadio tomorrow after a couple hours after our broadcast here. We'll be able to upload it to Anchor, which will upload it to iHeartRadio. So you'll be able to check it out on iHeartRadio. You'll be able to check it out on Anchor, Spotify, Google Music, and such like that. You can check us out on, let me pop that up. Uh, we are on stream um, every Monday and Tuesday. Every Monday, our episodes from this week get loaded up. So these, unless you want to watch them back on replay on YouTube, but you can go to the link there. So if you want to write it down, um, we are on Twitch. Find us on Twitch. Um, Stop stream there. Let's go back. Let's bring Sam back up here. Sam.
Yes. Well,
Um,
if you want good quality information and everything, we will always try to bring that. And whenever it comes to Twitch and these other platforms, somehow, I don't know how they do it, but Chad and Linda can work some magic that I never could. But like I said, on the issue of the oceans, there are a lot of, uh, like I was saying earlier, whenever it came to Hurricane Sandy or Sally, I can't remember the name of it, that hurricane, well, like I said, it destroyed a lot of things. New Jersey started looking at Floridians on advice how to deal with it, and they took a lot of the ideas and technology that comes to shutters and this and that. And so, like I said, Florida is a weird standard. It's a weird state, but if whenever we're the biggest idiots in the world, criminal wise, of course, but whenever it comes to taking on Mother Nature, such as a hurricane, we do our best.
Um, Linda already put in the description um, the our merch site, our Twitch site, the Bottom Bonkers, the TV site, and also if you want to check out any of the other things off of Bottom Bonkers, it's under there also. Uh, so, um, Rashid, one of our winners from when we did our, what was it, May um, unboxing, because we didn't have, or in June. Did we have one? Or is it April? I can't remember. It was probably April, our April drawing, our unboxing and stuff. For those that are wondering if we're going to have an unboxing this coming weekend, well, we should have had one last weekend because it was the last Saturday. Obviously, we didn't have one. Um, with COVID, kind of messed us all up. So we apologize. We know we've had quite a few people asking if we're going to be doing another one. Yes, we will be doing another one. It will probably be the end of July because now that I'm back working full time since having COVID, uh, we're slowly getting ourselves back together. So July 30th, I believe that it is. It's the last Saturday of the month. We will be having an unboxing, and not only that, uh, we will be on July 28th, 6 p.m. We're going to start putting it out there. We will be having a very, very special guest, a very good friend of mine who got published, and I don't know where the book is. So, she got published. So we will be having her and her co-writer on July 28th. Um, and then July 30th during the day, we will be getting a couple signed books to uh, not only for us, but somebody somebody will probably be getting one, if not the other two that we might pick up. Um, she's been a very good friend of mine for the past 20 years, and it's good to see her get something put out there that she's been working on for a couple of years. So, Irene, if you end up watching this, good job. We can't wait to have you as one of our special guests coming up July 28th, 6 p.m. Sam, you got anything else?
God bless you, Irene. God bless the Smith family. And God bless Mel Brooks.
Okay. On that note, Shirley, you jest.
No. And my name's not Shirley.
And don't call me Shirley.
Yeah.